Welcome. Thank you for coming out and being here tonight. There's nothing more pleasant, really, than practicing with friends and sharing the wonderful fruits of practicing the art of living. So this is our sixth series event, and this is the fifth of the six Friday evenings that we're doing this. So one more week after today, and the series is the art of living, and mindfulness is the art of living. So we're here to practice living. We're here to learn and practice the art of enjoying being alive, and learning how to continue doing that throughout our days and throughout our hours. So the goal is to live our life mindfully. So I'm Keith Mesker. This is Thich Nhat Hanh, in case you don't know. He's known affectionately as Thai, which means teacher in Vietnamese. Sometimes I think, well, that means we sound like second graders, going, teacher said, teacher. But that's how he is affectionately known. And he's Vietnamese. He was born in, I think it's October 11th, 1926. So he's 92 years old now. And I've been practicing in his tradition since 2009. And over the course of that, I've become ordained in his tradition, and that's where I have learned the practice of mindfulness. So I bring you the practice. I'm not here to bring you Buddhism. We called it mindfulness, the art of living, just so that nobody would stay away because, I'm not a Buddhist. It's not. It's about practicing mindfulness. That really is what this is all about. I love practicing. I love to sit, and I love doing walking meditation, and we'll do that tonight as well. I love insight. These awakenings mean a lot to me. And I love sharing and teaching. And just practicing with wonderful people who want to grow and transform like I do is a true gem. Thai likes to say it's a condition for our happiness that we're here. And it is very much the goal of this practice to learn the art of being happy. And it's the teaching that that's possible. It's up to us. We can generate happiness. And it's our highest priority to do that. It's what will make us a good contributor to the world we live in, as well as make our lives enjoyable. We use the bell a lot in this practice, and we call it the bell of mindfulness. And it's an invitation to come home to ourselves, and in particular to come home to our breathing. Just be aware, in breath, out. And that immediately brings us in touch with our bodies. And when we're aware of our bodies, we're here. We're in the present moment. Which is where life is found and happiness is generated. This is it. So I'll invite, and the practice of inviting the bell is interesting. You saw that I took a moment before I invited the bell. So there's a gatha, which is a little poem that the bell master, which is me in this case, recites to themselves to prepare themselves to invite the bell. And it goes, and it's 4 lines, one for your in-breath, one for your out-breath, one for the in and one for the out. We do everything in coordination with our breath. We're always working in harmony with our breath. So I say to myself, body, speech, and mind in perfect oneness. I send my heart along with the sound of this bell. May the hearers be awakened from forgetfulness and transcend the path of anxiety and sorrow. And then I invite a half sound. And that lets everyone who can hear know that a full sound of the bell is coming, and to prepare yourself to receive the full sound. So sit in a beautiful way or stand in a beautiful way, but stop whatever you're doing, put down whatever's in your hands if you can, and prepare yourself to receive the full sound of the bell. And when you hear the full sound, then you say to yourself on your in-breath, I listen. I really listen. And on your out-breath, this wonderful sound brings me back to my true home. And then I always allow time for 3 breaths before either inviting the bell again, as we often do 3 times, or before doing whatever is coming next. So that's the bell of mindfulness. We're going through the art of living, and we've packaged it so that it fits into 6 sessions. And so tonight we're covering 2 chapters, which are impermanence and non-craving. And then the next week we will cover releasing everything and enjoying nirvana. So be sure to come back. So impermanence is this really fundamental teaching in Buddhism, and in particular in Zen Buddhism, which is the tradition that we're in. And impermanence, I mean, I just love it. It just brings me tremendous joy and peace to concentrate on impermanence, which might seem strange, but it has kind of two levels of meaning. One is sort of the more obvious meaning, which is that, in the future things will be different. One of Thay's teachings is, when often we get into patterns with our beloved ones, which are, things just kind of build up, and we kind of take each other for granted, and we can get stale, and that juice that we felt when we were falling in love, can just kind of almost get lost. And so, when you're irritated with your beloved and frustrated, angry, close your eyes and just imagine where your beloved will be in 300 years. Ash. And then when you open your eyes, you will just want to hug your beloved. You're not cherishing being together will fade away. Will fall to its proper place in the larger scheme of things. So, in the future, a few hundred years, unless there's really dramatic change, we'll all be dead and gone. So that's one meaning of impermanence, is that things will be different in the future. But the deeper meaning of it that's more relevant for our practice is that everything is changing right here, right now. Everything. There is nothing that is permanent. Every atom in the universe, no matter where it is emitting light at all times. And every photon of light that leaves the atom's different. The energy level is different. It's a different atom. And whatever we are experiencing, no matter how solid it feels, or the ground under us, our as we rest, every sensation of our body, if you look closely, you'll realize it's vibration, it's moving, it's changing. Our nervous system works through nerves that fire and don't fire, and so it all comes down to energy. Everything is energy. Alan Watts said, reality is patterns of wave vibrations. Kind of a psychedelic metaphor, but it's just true that if you look deeply into anything, you'll realize that it's alive, it's vibrant. And so, what we want is to wake up so that we're enjoying the vibrance of reality, of our own bodies, No matter how solid this head feels, it's not. So we want to wake up to the aliveness of the universe. we are in a living universe, and we are this universe alive and self-aware. And it's happening. Everything is a happening rather than a thing. And one of the wonderful things about impermanence is that, the things which are really difficult, which are a way you wish they weren't, it won't last. It will change. Thich Nhat Hanh was in Vietnam during the heat of the Vietnam War. He was right there in the middle of it. The bombs were dropping all around, and people that, his beloved students would be kidnapped and killed, and the villages would be bombed. And one day, one of his students asked him, "Will this war ever end?" And it wasn't a particularly hopeful moment. He didn't see any end in sight at that time. So he was silent for a long while, and then he said, "Everything ends. Nothing is permanent." And so, and the other side of that is that everything is possible. And it's only because of impermanence that, that we can grow from babies into adults, and only because of impermanence that we can learn and continue to grow. And impermanence is wonderful. Would you like to come in and join the circle, or are you happy where you are? You're welcome to come in. There's chairs to be sat upon. One of the things that we've covered already is that we are empty of a separate self. It's another just really important core teaching. And, we think and we speak and we act as if we were a separate self. And our language is just structured just makes that assumption, Yesterday I went to the store and I bought da-da-da-da. So now there's me as a separate being negotiating the world, and then there's other things and other beings which are also separate. And of course, this way of thinking is very useful. We couldn't manage, if I couldn't arrange to meet you for coffee at the coffee house, or couldn't get to work, the world wouldn't work if we weren't able to use symbols and language the way we do. But the downside is that we end up assuming that the world is really made of separate realities, separate beings, that we're separate. And we almost act like we think we're like a ghost inside of our body, rather than being, an organism in relationship to its environment. That's the meaning of ecology, is that you can't describe what an organism is without describing the environment. So what ecologists really learned was that what reality is organism-environment interrelationships. So anyway, we have this teaching of we are empty of a separate self, but we are filled with the entire cosmos. And So emptiness of a separate self and impermanence are really the same teaching. We say empty as a spatial metaphor, and we say impermanent as a time metaphor. But as Einstein gave us the space-time continuum, we realize that this is, space and time are one reality. And so emptiness and impermanence are the same basic teaching. We're not separate. We inter-are. Interbeing is Thay's contribution to religious language. And I think it's a wonderfully effective, powerful idea, interbeing. We inter-are with each other. We're made of each other, and we're made of all the other beings in the world. So we inter-are with each other, and we inter-are with the whole. And to get that at a emotional consciousness level is what it's all about. That if we get that, we're Buddhas. It's not a difficult idea to grok, but to actually transform our modes of perception and experience so that we are really inhabiting a world of interbeing. That's why we practice. And that's why we need a practice, because there's so much momentum in the world for another perspective. The perspective of separateness is so pervasive that, this is like a revolutionary act to wake up to reality. And so we need a community, we need support, we need friends on the path in order to generate this insight and to sustain it. And so that we can interact with a difficult world and maintain our sanity. That's all we want. We just want to be sane, ordinary human beings, Nothing special. On the one hand, yes, we're yogis of the mind, but it's just because we have to deal with this difficult situation. We just want to be ourselves. An oak tree. You don't want an oak tree to be anything but an oak tree. It's beautiful. You just want it to thrive, and show itself, right? That's all we want for ourselves. We just want to be ourselves and love ourselves. What a concept. Love being alive here, now. And if I'm loving myself and loving being alive, I'm going to be loving you. It's just, since we inter-are, and you are me, and I am you, it's not really complicated, but it does take practice, ongoing practice, every moment for the rest of our lives. And then our practice will continue on in all of the other beings with whom we have interacted along the way. The energy of mindfulness will continue. Nothing is lost. Thay has a metaphor of a match, and he says the match is the idea of interbeing. when you strike the match and you light the flame is the insight. And the insight burns up the idea. You know, the idea of interbeing is like a raft that takes us to the other shore. When you get to the other shore, you don't put the raft on your back, you don't carry it around for the rest of your life. You can let it go. It's served its purpose. And so all of the teachings are just practices to help you, to help us achieve the insight. You know, it's the insight which liberates us. And the insight is deeper than words. It's deeper than symbols. It's deeper than language. You know, it's like good poetry. It just catches you off guard and catapults you into a different mode of experience. And it's that mode of experience that is the insight. You know, it's our whole being waking up to something. And that's what the insight is. And with the insight of impermanence, we will treasure the present moment, because it's only here now. It will never repeat. This is the only moment that there is. And we can wake up, we can generate happiness by appreciating the present moment. And if we don't, well, we missed that opportunity. And we missed that chance to be ourselves and to live. So that's what we want to do, is to live our lives, which happens in the present moment. And a quote from Thay, he said, "We can make the insight of impermanence into a living insight that is with us in every moment." We can make the insight of impermanence into a living insight that is with us every moment. So we're capable. It's possible. We can master the art of being here now. And the other chapter is non-craving or non-desire. The teaching of non-desire is saying that we already are everything we want to become. We already have all the conditions for happiness that we need. And one of Thay's homework assignments is find a place that you really like to sit, you know, maybe out on a park or wherever it is that you really like to sit, and have some pieces of paper with you and start writing down the conditions for your happiness that already exist. And he says 1 page won't be enough. 2 pages and 3 pages and 4 pages won't be enough for all the conditions for our happiness which already exist. You know, eyes that see and ears that hear the music of the world, and a body that can touch, and exquisite appreciation of how the world comes to us. And you know, our ability to feel, it just goes on and on and on. And of course, you know, I mean, we have the luxury to be able to come and sit like this. So many people in the world would are not nearly as lucky as any one of us. I like the phrase, since everything's impermanent, there's really nothing to grab onto. It's like grabbing onto a stream, an eddy in the water or something. And there's no one to grab onto it. So nothing to cling to and no one to cling to it. We're free. We're in flux. So that teaching that we already are all that we want to become, we can see that that's true, but also that it's not quite true, or we wouldn't be here, right? There's something that we want which we don't have, but it's only to be awake. It's just this very subtle change that changes everything. And it's called enlightenment. It's called cosmic consciousness. It's called nirvana. In Buddhism, it's called being awake. Bud means awake. Buddha is a human being who's awake. There's lots of Buddhas. Been lots of Buddhas. So I think that's all I need to say. Thank you for listening. It's fun to think about these things out loud and try to do that in a way where it's digestible and useful and fun to hear and think about. And you can take any teaching, any one idea, even if it's just remembering in and out, to bring yourself back to your body. It's just one teaching is all you need. And with that, you can open up the whole universe to yourself. But you do need to practice.